Blink-182 reunited as the Dream Team, the core trio with Tom DeLonge that most fans have been praying to return for the better part of a decade. But is their comeback album their masterpiece? Hey neighbor, welcome back to ARTV. My name is John, and it's time to review the 9th or maybe 10th, depending on who you ask, Blink-182 album, One More Time. One More Time exists because Tom DeLonge came back to Blink-182, replacing Matt Skiba, who I think did a really good job at holding down the fort while Tom was off exploring aliens and airwaves. Matt graciously stepped aside to pave the way for Tom's return. The guys had been talking in the prior years, especially following Mark Hoppus's cancer diagnosis. Tom DeLonge and him became very close again. Travis Barker in the fold, obviously being the glue that holds it together. And boom, bang, bomb, we've got new Blink-182. This new Blink album is one that I've been anxiously holding my breath for, anticipating, but also feeling kind of nervous about, because Neighborhoods didn't come from the best circumstances, despite the fact that I now love and adore and praise the hell out of that record. It was a tumultuous time in the studio because they were all separated and it felt like the mindset wasn't one of unity. Not even comparing the albums directly head to head in terms of quality, but One More Time is absolutely a refreshing, united front that sees Blink-182 being the most Blink-182 they've been probably since the Untitled. How did Untitled come out 20 years ago and 31 years old? What the fuck is going on? I could sleep a little bit better at night knowing that Blink-182 have made a worthwhile reunion effort, one that doesn't just feel like nostalgia for the sake of it, or even going through the motions, despite the fact that much of this album is rather overproduced, a little bit plastic feeling. It's not necessarily the huge detractor for me that it would be to others or maybe some musicians or producers, because I hear this, but I hear Blink-182 in a modern setting that's really kicking, really firing on all cylinders. One of the reasons I was anxious about the album is, one, Edging came out more than a year ago. That was our first taste, and while it was good, it wasn't great. It was fun, if not a little bit gimmicky, but Blink disproved every theory in the book that I could have thrown at him, because this album, One More Time, and that single, when it dropped, it really changed the scope of how I was looking at the reunion. One More Time getting paired with More Than You Know as a single release was like a flashbang taste of what to expect on the album to come. Me being the worrywart that I am, I was a little bit unconvinced as to how Travis Barker's production would sound for an entire Blink album, and there's times where it becomes a little grating or too obvious what it is he's trying to do, but his playing, his drumming on this record, the punk tenacity that can also bend to styles of hip-hop and other modern elements, make Blink not feel outdated or overly nostalgic. It's somewhere right in the sweet spot that I have to give Barker credit for. The flow, dynamic, and success of One More Time isn't hinging on one specific sound, genre, or member. It's everyone throwing it at the wall and tackling things from new wave to punk rock to everything in between. This time they're wearing their influences more on their sleeve than they have in the past, and they're being a little bit more accepting of that instead of having to fight off these ideals of what they're supposed to be as a pop punk band. They've got The Cure in there, obviously co-writing credits on Fell in Love because of the melody, and then you've got a song like Blink Wave that is just screaming 80s Cure. Those on this same record are able to gel with more traditional pop punk tracks like Dance With Me, the perfect Blink-182 single with the right amount of olaying and an even better amount of dosage in the verses. Everyone is popping off. You have that, and obviously something like Bad News that is definitely restoring that old idea of Blink and painting it with a fresh coat in a very, very solid way with Hoppus on vocals. You also have your more tender moments on the record, obviously the ballad selection One More Time. That song is the one that drilled straight through my antidepressants and said, hey, that wall that you thought you had there, that's down. Yeah, you're crying, and it's okay, because one of your favorite bands of all time is reunited, and they're actually doing it right. It felt like all of them were sniping at my synapses, and I welcome that. I appreciate the fact that they actually are putting a little bit more tenacity and feeling into the lyrical side of things as well as the musical. Now, when I think of Blink-182 and the idea of their masterpiece, I've always defaulted to the Untitled album. 2003 was a fantastic time for them. They were coming off of Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, which is arguably their best pop punk album, but after that, that, instead of just flipping the easy page, they're able to turn things on their head with a more mature perspective that was again explored on Neighborhoods, which I think is massively overlooked and a masterpiece in its own right. And now at One More Time, I can't quite say that we're to the point where it's topping a lot of these classic albums, but it's definitely in the conversation. The blasting 2/4 punk beats on Anthem Part 3 are the perfect greeting card to just say everything's gonna be okay. You thought you had these expectations for the Blink album, the concerns, whatever. Anthem Part 2 was a song that raised me, quite literally. Anthem Part 3 is one that's going to define my 30s, and that of many others too. Terrified is all killer, no filler. Tom DeLonge going for the throat. This is a leftover boxcar racer tune that Travis Barker and Tom had been working on for so many years. They left it on the back burner and said, you know what, fuck the side projects. We're going all in on Blink-182. They brought the song to the idea of Blink and transformed it into an absolute monster. To circle back to More Than You Know for just a moment, can we talk about how Neighborhoods that song feels in the best way? Like it's a direct follow-up, no time has passed since dogs eating dogs? That's exactly what it is, and God does this song work for me. This is a 17-track album, but don't let that Scooby-Doo sized bite be intimidating to you, because it's only about 45 minutes and they make really good use of the runtime despite it not being the most coherent. I don't mean incoherent, I just mean that the pacing can feel a little non-existent or wishy-washy, but at the same time, it doesn't really feel like a mixtape. I think they just mixed up the styles enough that it kind of makes sense for what this album is. We get to the closing section, and this is the point where I really admitted to myself that they're not phoning this in at all. My fears have been quelled because they are still reaching at the end of the album for something bigger, something beyond what the band has done in the past. Turpentine, goddammit, however you want to say it, is a ripper. That song goes so hard with Tom just fueling up the punk energy. We saw him do it on One More Time with those aggressive vocals leading into the chorus. We saw it again on Terrified, and here at the end of the album, just ripping throats out. The interludes are a little bit, I could see myself skipping over a few of them, although Hurt is definitely an exception. I like that Tom made this feel like Angels and Airwaves taking a passage from Blink's Bible, and then you've got a track like Fell in Love that's just a little too gimmicky and safe for me, and towards the end of the album, the other side, I don't know what it is, I'm not a huge fan of the coffee hook, but when your swan song of the record is Childhood, you can pretty much pack it up and say it was all worth it, because as sleepy as this song might start off, don't sleep on it. For a band that once had no future, I'm very excited to see where Blink-182 are headed on this next journey, on the next horizon, but for now, with One More Time, I'm giving this album a 4 out of 5. As much as Blink-182's One More Time might not be a masterpiece, I still find it really refreshing and intriguing. Let me know your thoughts on the album in the comment section down below. Smash that like button, subscribe for the love of music, and check out all of my Blink-182 videos above me on screen. Follow me at ARTV John for more on Instagram, and I'll see you soon on ARTV.